Hey guys, what's up? My name's Chopper. Welcome everybody back to a brand new video. Hope you guys are having a good day. So I've been on the PUBG nostalgia train for a little bit, and I was playing the other day and realized that Miramar is the last remaining fossil of this game that still kind of represents and captures what original PUBG was like. Because when you think about it, all of the maps that either shipped with the game or came shortly thereafter have all been remastered, and you can no longer access the original builds of those maps, except for Miramar. We know a remaster is coming, but you know, that's down the road. So today I wanted to take a look at the top 10 things that only original players will remember. I think it's been long enough now where some of the original things that were included in this game can be considered nostalgic now. So if you remember any of these things that are included in this video, drop a like, and also let me know in the comment section if there's anything original about this game or nostalgic that you felt like I should have included in this list that I missed. Of course, we're only going over 10, so there's gonna be plenty of stuff that I'm not able to include. But before we jump into our list today, if you guys don't mind subscribing, if you're new to the channel, we're getting very, very close now to 300,000. It's going to happen very soon. I guess something pretty special for you guys planned when that happens. But without further ado, let's get into this. So starting off and coming in at our number 10 spot is going to be a little bit of a general one, but it's got to be original Erangel. And I was going through my video files on my computer, and I really don't have too many gameplays left of the original map, which is kind of sad because just looking at it, there's just something, there's a charm that it brings back. Don't get me wrong, I love the new Erangel remaster. I think it's one of the best maps ever created in this game, and I would say it still holds true to the original, but there's just something about the look of this game that lets you know this is where it all started. Every time I see this map, I'm just reminded of some of the most unbelievably profound gaming experiences I've ever had in my life. Chasing my first chicken dinner and trying to get the first win ever with my friend. We're not really knowing or understanding how to play this game properly, but having so much fun in the process is something I look back on so fondly, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. Now, the new remastered Erangel, I would say does a great job of maintaining the heart of the original one, but again, there's just still something about this version that cannot be recreated or beat. I would say that there's a significant amount of PUBG players that this is the only map they've played. Maybe they started on this game and they hadn't played any of the maps coming out afterwards, but pretty much everybody recognizes Erangel as the PUBG experience. Coming in today at the number 9 spot is the ability to put an 8x scope on virtually any gun in the game. Now, it's been a really long time since this was ever possible, and many players probably weren't even around when this was a thing, but originally, as the game came out, almost any attachment was compatible with any gun, more or less. You could put an 8x scope on any AR if you want to. They weren't always viable. You could even put an 8x on some pistols, and when the 15x scope was literally the most sought after attachment in the entire game, the ability to put all these on whatever gun you like was kind of interesting. Admittedly, from a balance standpoint, it is probably better that the decision was made to make a 6x scope for higher magnification, but make that for ARs, and then the 8x scope and beyond is only for DMRs and snipers. And so that makes sense, but it was just kind of one of those things that showed the infancy, I guess, of PUBG. And I'll also say it made for banger YouTube videos and thumbnails, I'll tell you that. Moving on though, coming in today at the number 8 spot is going to be airdrop crates and the specific contents that are in them. And these crates have evolved quite dramatically over the years that have changed. Now, the concept and how they work remains the same, but the contents have changed quite a bit. Some of you may remember that in the earliest days of PUBG, the adrenaline syringe healing item can only have been found in crates. Now, they changed that a long time ago to where adrenaline syringes can be found on the ground, albeit it's pretty rare. They used to be an airdrop specific item if you didn't know. And also the M24 sniper, which we all know as basically a different version of the Kar 98, a slightly different build, was also an airdrop specific gun, and it used to be way more powerful when it was. Many weapons and items have been removed from crates over the years, and to be honest, not much have been added into them, so they seem to be less valuable or less sought after than they used to be back in the day. There isn't as much allure to chasing drops now that there was, but it is still interesting nonetheless. Taking the number 7 spot, to this day, I'm not really sure why this was done, and it just one of those things that I look back at PUBG and see it and just kind of laugh to myself now. Now, when they had clothes that would spawn on the ground as like loot in houses and buildings and stuff, I just never really understood that. Like, you were able to basically change your clothes to whatever you want in game. Maybe it was supposed to be like a tactical decision to decide what would camouflage you best in the environment. I don't really know, but I'm sure this is one of the big reasons that there was a hit on performance and the game didn't really run well quite in the beginning, is because of all the clothes spawns that were loaded into the map. They eventually got rid of this, but some of you may remember that used to be like a big part of the loot pool, which is really weird. Speaking of other things removed, let's talk about the old energy drink. Now, I think it's been long enough where many of you guys know that this got changed, but I think it's so far in the past that many of us forget what this was actually like. There was basically a Red Bull logo knockoff design, and this had to be changed for what I assume are legal reasons. That's all the information I've been able to find. I think that they got away with it originally because this was just basically a small indie game that wasn't supposed to really get big or infringe on any copyright, but as the game started to get bigger, I imagine they got into some legal trouble with this. A lot of you guys remember the old look, but I figured it was worth looking at again. Coming in at number 5, the old attachment selection is something I think about a lot because it's so fundamental to the variety of gameplay in PUBG that I kind of don't even remember what it was like playing without some of the scopes and grips and everything like that that we have access to today. Originally in the game, there were basically a 2x scope, a red dot, holographic, 4x, and 8x. That was really about it. I mean, you had the 15 in crates, but there was no 3x for a long time, or 6, and all of the grips were basically non-existent besides the vertical and angled, and it was pretty easy to make a decision between which one you wanted. Eventually, new scopes and attachments got added, and that was pretty much the last time we've seen these things almost ever. I would love to have brand new attachments in the game and stuff, but I don't know how viable that's going to be. Just different sights and grips and whatever would be wonderful, but we'll see what happens. The point is, the old attachment selection was very primitive, but it was straightforward and well thought out. Coming in today at the number 4 spot is going to be the old movement system, and sadly, I don't have any good gameplay to really showcase what this was like. You kind of had to have played it or have been there for yourself to witness it. It was just as primitive as the attachment system and everything, if not even more so. There was no vaulting or jumping out of windows. You couldn't even heal while moving, which is something we take for granted now. That's been in PUBG for, I would say, around a year and a half, and there was a time where the only movement options you had while healing was to maybe jiggle peek back and forth or maybe move an inch to avoid a headshot, but that's about it. Speaking of movement, the current movement system in PUBG is going to be receiving another overhaul soon as well, according to PUBG devs that I've talked to, and it's going to be vastly different from what we've seen. Even compared to the original, it's just going to be completely on another level. So the movement system is just a representation. It's a good way to look at the game as a whole and see how far it's come and how much it really has progressed from a technical standpoint and from a logical standpoint as well. Coming today at the number 3 spot is going to be the old blue zone, and this has been one of the features that's underwent the most changes in PUBG, almost entirely. Now, this thing is basically the fundamental of every BR, where it's the mechanic that gets players together. Originally, the blue zone in PUBG was very easy to see through, meaning campers could sit back there as long as they want to and shoot people inside of the safe zone. With enough meds and resources, you could stay outside of the blue for a really long time, even up into the end game if you played your cards right. It was definitely not an ideal situation. Getting the zone right in any BR is always going to be a challenge, but the way that PUBG started and the way that it is now is not at all the same. But just like the movement system is a great representation of just how far along the game has really come over the years. Coming in today at the number 2 spot is such a good one. The original spawn island is something else. This is where you went to trash talk, to make funny moments, to shoot around with all of the guns that were available on the benches and try everything that the game had to offer. Now, they ended up changing the spawn island and pretty much made it irrelevant after removing all the stuff and the ability just to chat in the pregame. So many amazing moments that I honestly provide to the success of PUBG started within the spawn island, I think. Some of the most viral videos on this game came from not only the gameplay, but just from the moments to be had on that spawn island. It's absolutely iconic. Fortunately now, it kind of just feels like a shell of its former self, and there's not much you can do there anymore, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Now, before we unveil our number 1 spot, I would like to give an honorable mention to hot dropping. Now, technically, this still does exist in the game, and this isn't something that still isn't viable, but I would say that hot dropping is significantly less prominent than it used to be, and it doesn't really matter exactly where you drop now, because if you're a good player, you can find ways to obtain loot that you would otherwise get from hot drops, and just generally over all the balance patches and everything, it kind of feels like the loot is now spread evenly, more or less, so it doesn't feel like dropping at the military base or dropping at school is as valuable or having as much of an advantage as it used to be. It still is like a high risk, high reward strategy, but it isn't as much of a big deal as it was when PUBG was early on, that's for sure. So finally, guys, coming in today at the number 1 spot that original players will remember is the original weapon selection and also the OG weapon balancing. Back when the UMP9 was the gun to have, it was basically the best SMG, and the M16 16 was arguably the best gun in the game. You could put an 8x on this, make it a sniper rifle or an AR if you want to, and it was just godly. Granted, back then, there weren't many weapons to pick from. Back in the day, the AUG being added to crates was a monumental update for this game. I gotta give credit where credit's due. In PUBG, I would say that the guns have pretty much always been relatively balanced with each other, even despite guns receiving nerfs and buffs. They've all been in a pretty good ecosystem, and they complement one another well. But the weapon selection and potential armory you can have in PUBG now is not even close to what it was originally. The game has changed a lot in this regard, and it's one of those things that had to happen or else the game would have got stale. And I'm very grateful for all the weapons that we have in PUBG now. There's so much variety, match to match, that you can play with different guns to prefer and also different ways to play them. But just the original weapon selection to me is kind of interesting. The AKM, the M4, and the VSS to me are just very nostalgic. Even to this day, when I pick these guns up, I still have like a lot of memories with these guns when they were very different or when they were just god tier in the game. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate to that sentiment also. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, please give it a like rating. If I missed anything that you felt like should have been included in this top 10, let me know down below in the comment section of something you remember that only original players will probably remember also. But I really appreciate you guys for watching today. Also, if you haven't followed me on Twitch, I stream almost every day. Come say hi. Not always PUBG, but sometimes. Links in the description down below. And if you guys would like to use my creator code on PUBG, it's very easy to do. You can log into your account. I'm going to leave the link directly to that in the description, and you can select my name in the Creator Appreciation Program, and it does help support the channel a lot, so thank you again for that. The support on the channel has been wonderful as of recently, and I'm very, very glad that we're going to continue in this direction. So thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you all in the next live stream or the next video. Take it easy, everybody. I gotta go, and peace out.